again, we're thrilled to have everybody, the volunteers, keep us rolling, and we're so fortunate to have you all. So really appreciate all the support that you provide us, especially it's been just a crazy couple of years and you have stuck with us and kept us rolling. So the good news is we'll start with some updates about the refuge. So the good news is things are getting improving. And so we are still just operating at 3 days a week with the visitor center from 10 to 2 on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Hopefully, as things improve, the community spread level is, as it lowers, we'll hopefully open up some more hours, but we got the okay to do, we're still doing in on-site field trips, and we're getting lots of school group registrations. We're going to do most of the programming outdoors, but we're going to start getting back our staff at 100% capacity. The aim is for that to be in May. Some people are still teleworking part-time, but at this point, a good number of the staff are coming back, mostly 5 days a week. So that's a good thing. So we're expecting to hopefully start doing some of our regular programming that we used to do once a month, which is Nature Tots. We used to do on the first Saturday, and that's a program for 2 to 5 year olds or 3 to 5 year olds. It's been so long, I can't remember. Second Saturday, stewardship, and just some other programming. Our special events are going to be still low key. The special events are our bigger events where we have more complex programming, and we invite out different exhibitors to come in, and we get a lot of bigger crowd of people. So we're going to hold off on that and do a smaller number of programming and not as complex. So we're going to keep that limited, but overall things seem to be moving forward. We're not requiring masks at the visitor center at this point, so people are welcome to wear masks. We still have them available if people want them, but at this point, they're not required, which is a big step forward since the community spread is lower. So visitor services wise, I am thrilled that I get to work with Aiden. Aiden is going to be our speaker tonight. Aiden is a year-long intern. He started in late January, and he'll be hopefully with us through the end of January 2023. And he just has been just a delight to work with and just been so helpful in short time he's been there at the refuge working with me. So very happy to have Aiden. And then we have a seasonal park ranger that'll be starting in April 12th, I believe. So she'll be with us for 6 months. So we'll have a good crew. Patrick, who is Patrick Bryant, he's the park ranger that's been working at the refuge, I guess about 6 years now. And he is on a detail at the regional office in the realty division to get some experience. So he is still on the organizational chart, and we're still paying his salary at Neal Smith, but he's getting this great opportunity to work with the realty for several months and maybe extended. So I'm going to be relying on Aiden and the new seasonal ranger to really help with the programming. We're going to be doing outreach programs. So we're actually going out to libraries and doing some outdoor programs for the libraries. And we'll be attending some special events like farmers markets, the Des Moines Farmers Market, and then the Greater Des Moines Botanical Gardens Earth Day event. We're trying to do things that are outdoors, so to limit the exposure for our folks with COVID. So we're moving forward, but we're still taking some safety precautions, so which is really good. So that's kind of the update for visitor services. And biological stuff, Karen couldn't be on the program tonight, but she is going to have her hands full. She is hiring 6 biological interns, and that's a lot of people, a lot of interns to supervise. So one of the first ones going to be coming in next week, and then the others are going to be starting at different stages during the summertime. And she wanted to thank the Friends of Neal Smith National Wildlife Refuge for the support, because they actually give us about $70,000 a year to fund those internships, and those are so critical for us to be able to operate. And it also provides a really great opportunities for the young people that want to get into conservation careers. It's a good stepping stone to learn how to refuge functions, and just to get the inner workings of the refuge is a great opportunity. Another piece of good news is that the refuge was able to burn 200 acres, and that was along 88 88th Avenue. That happened last Wednesday. So that went really well. And then they're hoping to burn again next week. As you probably know, burning, having prescribed burns is critical to the ecosystems at the refuge, the fire dependent ecosystem. So without periodic fire being on the landscape, it just is not going to keep the environment healthy. The prairie will change and woody vegetation comes in that doesn't belong. So burning is a good thing at the refuge. So hopefully next week as well. And big ambition. So Karen stated that she hopes that the staff can burn 2,000 acres this year. So that is a big chunk. So let's cross our fingers and hope that that works out. We do have approximately 6,000 acres. So that's a 2,000 acres out of 6,000. That's a big chunk of land. So hopefully that works well. And she wanted to reach out and thank our volunteers for all the seed cleaning, all the seed collection. The seed cleaning is pretty much wrapped up. I think we have one bin left. And so that's really went really well. And then additionally, we had volunteers come in and they braved coming in on a snowy day and they actually helped us clean up the seed lab. So that meant mopping and dusting and organizing and cleaning things. So that was a great help to us. So, and the Friends sponsored a lunch. So thanks to the volunteers and the Friends for that. And Karen, as I mentioned, is going to be busy with hiring and onboarding the 6 interns. Additionally, she's going to get a seasonal ranger, I believe, starting in April or May. So that person will be with us 6 months and help her with all the tasks and helping with the interns as well. And then Karen is actually now preparing a seed prescription. So she looks at all the different seeds that the refuge purchases, the bulk harvest of seeds that we collect on the refuge, as well as the hand collected seed. That is all put into a database and the percentage of seed is documented. And then she comes up with a prescription and has to put that together. She was actually showing Aiden and I today how she puts that together, and it's not easy. So she tracks all this information, and then she has to use calculations of how much seed is in the prescription, how much seed per square foot, and then how to calculate the rate of the seed spread as it's being put out in the seed spreader that's placed on a tractor. So a lot of work, a lot of things. I don't know how she does all she does, but she does a great job of doing that. So she's working on the seed prescription, and she'll be planting, I believe, 50 acres on the Rottinghouse East, which is in the southern part of the refuge. So that's agricultural land that was recently, I don't remember how recent, but not too long ago, acquired. The Friends in the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation purchased the land. They hold it until the federal government can purchase it. And then that is now turned over to the refuge. And so we start to seed that. So that'll be happening pretty soon, depending on the weather. And another good piece of news is we're going to start growing plants again. We haven't grown plants in our greenhouses for 2 years. So hallelujah. And so that is really great news. So she'll start planting that. And if anybody's interested, next Wednesday from 9 to 12, we're going to have a training on how to girdle trees, all that kind of stuff. There's lots of opportunities. Just let me know. So anyway, on that note, Aiden, do you have anything you'd like to share?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And Joan, I think on that note, we'll turn it over to the Friends.
Okay. Yeah, I see there's a couple, or who's all, Amanda and Sharon are on too. So main things, I think we mentioned that in some of the last meetings. For anybody who's not a Friends member, you're welcome to come out to the refuge on Saturday, March 26th. We're having the Spring Fling, which is kind of our annual meeting. Friends members, and we're asking volunteers are welcome to come out too. So it's kind of an open house from 10 to 2. We'll just have to, you'll be able to talk to the staff that's there and the Friends board members and hear what we kind of done the last couple of years in these crazy years and what we're going to be planning. We'll have some light refreshments and door prizes. So, and hopefully we're talking about even maybe having some guided trail walks also if it's nice weather. So everyone is welcome to come out for that. I think we still have, Nancy mentioned the nature store. We can always use help. Photo contest is going on. So if you are a photographer or know of anyone who is, you can check out the website. For that, its photos aren't due until fall, so we got plenty of time. And then the other would be, I think Sharon mentioned it too at the last call, our Friends Scholarship. For some of the local schools here, we offer $1,000 scholarship that's renewable for each year they're in at universities. So that would be something too. If you know of any graduating seniors this year, you can sure, again, check it out on our website. It's got the application, everything is there. I don't know, Sharon, Amanda, anything else you can think of? We're still not doing a whole lot, but hopefully we're hoping to do maybe even some small programs that the Friends will lead in the next few months, some outdoor programs. So we just have to plan some of that yet with refuge staff.
No, Joan, this is just so before I forget, but maybe considering extending that scholarship into the urban area, into the greater Des Moines urban area, since we're an urban refuge. So I know it's kind of the surrounding communities right now, but just a thought, I'm just throwing that out there. So just that if some of the board members and think about that, but.
Oh yeah, Amanda posted the website, tallgrass.org is our website. So you can check that out.
Yeah, and we are still working with the Greater Des Moines Urban Wildlife Conservation Partnership, which is an urban program to get into work with the underserved communities. So yeah, that's something we're still ongoing and still planning. So did the Friends have anything else? Anybody else want to share?
I think that's all for us.
Anybody in the audience? Any questions so far or anything you want to share?
Unless when I was off, lost internet, there was a question about events. Like, are you doing anything for Earth Day or did you answer that?
Yeah, we answered that. We said we're not doing Earth Day and Peddle the Prairie this year. We're gonna kind of slowly ease into things and do small scale special events. Hopefully by next year. Cross our fingers. Maybe I can ride the 4.5 miles by then on the main entry road. I only can make it up one hill. That's it. Rick was able to do the whole thing there and back, so he's my hero. And as Joe mentioned, yeah, spring fling, so please come out and support the Friends, and we'd love to see you. Open house, so 10 to 2 on March 26th. We'd love to see you at the refuge. All right, on that note, as I mentioned, I have the pleasure of working with Aiden Reyes, and he is with us, as I mentioned, for till January 2023. And he's been here for about a month and a half, and he's a whirlwind, learning all the stuff about the refuge and settling in, and I know he's going to do great things for us. But he has a really great background already in his early on in his career, so he has some really substantial experiences that he's going to share with us tonight. So Aiden, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I really appreciate you being here with us and doing the presentation.
Thank you very much. Let me figure out how to share this screen really quick.
And Aiden, are you okay with people asking questions as you're going along?
Yes, that's fine. If you have something, then feel free to interrupt. Yeah, you can just take yourself off mute. No worries.
And I'll monitor the chat for you.
Sure thing. Okay. So can everyone see? Let me see. Can everyone see my screen? And it says my journey on there.
Yep, we can see it, Aiden.
Perfect. Let me know if at any point it cuts out. So as Nancy previously said, for anyone that didn't catch that or just as unfamiliar, my name is Aiden Reyes. I'm going to be at Neal Smith for the next year as a visitor services intern, working under Nancy, and I see some familiar faces and names and also some new ones. So hopefully along the whole year, I'll get to meet everyone here, but thank you all for being here nonetheless. Okay. So I am originally from Fort Worth, Texas. That's where I spent my time growing up, all from elementary school through high school. I kind of first developed my passion for the outdoors through the Boy Scouts of America. I am an Eagle Scout, and my parents weren't really outdoorsy growing up. And so their idea of a vacation was, sitting on a beach with drinks in hand. And my idea of a vacation, and still my idea of a vacation, is getting out into the wilderness and not showering for a couple days. So Scouts is where I first developed that passion, going to different national parks and state parks and camping and canoeing and you name it. But whenever I was a kid, my heroes were the people in, green pants or brown pants and a khaki shirt. I viewed that khaki shirt and that Ranger cap as probably a different kid viewed a cape on a superhero. They're really special to me, and those are my role models. And that's what I liked to envision myself doing whenever I grew up, and to dedicate my career to. So went to school in a very diverse area. My high school, for a frame of reference, I guess, kind of a rougher area. I think out of a class of about 570 students, probably only about 30 of that went to a college. So very low kind of turnaround to higher education and things like that out of school. But gratefully, I had good parents that supported me. And so I got into Texas A&M University in 2017. For anyone unfamiliar, that was down in College Station, which is about a 3-hour drive south of Fort Worth, my hometown. So it was good because it was close enough for a weekend trip, but far enough to where it was a choice if I wanted to visit or not, or have visitors. So it was a good experience. And that there was my dad and then my little brother. My little brother is now a senior in high school, so time flies. And that was our carload going up for my freshman year and moving into my apartment. And I see a chat really quick. Oh, Gig 'em Aggies. Nice, Gig 'em. For anyone unfamiliar, that's what Aggies say to each other. I'm not sure if Iowa State has any. I know UT, University of Texas, does hook 'em horns like that. But anyways. So college is really enjoyable for me, but admittedly I had a rough start, and to me at least, it's all the more, I'm all the more grateful for it because it kind of is the reason why I'm here today. Going into school and going into college, my parents wanted me to be the stereotypical idea of success, just because of their backgrounds. And so for them, that meant being a lawyer, doctor, business, finance, engineering, something along those lines. And so I knew from the beginning, because of my experiences in Scouts, that wasn't what I wanted to do. But nonetheless, it was, they were supporting me during college. And so I obliged and figured I'd give engineering a shot. But during my first semester, it was really hard to meet new people, and my course load was really hard because of freshman year in engineering. And so I didn't have that good of a semester. I think about halfway through that semester, I told them that I would be changing my majors to forestry and wildlife and fisheries sciences, which is what I ended up majoring in. And I told them that I would respect their decision if they decided not to, pay for that degree because it's their money. But if not, I would drop out and then just go into the armed forces and serve honorably and earn that degree myself, and then come out with veterans preference for getting jobs in the federal government. So I had a little plan there. But anyways, thankfully, they kind of came to and changed their mind and accepted it. And I had a good time in college from then on. This student organization, this is a photo of me with my student organization in college, which is where I met a lot of friends, and also my girlfriend now of over 3 years, and still going strong. So it was a student organization called Texas A&M Student Serving Scouting. And so we're a part recreation and part service organization. So about once a month, we would go on campouts just to areas around the College Station area down there in South Texas. And then once a semester, we would run an event and do a service project for the local scouts of the Bryan College Station area at Texas A&M. And so I started out as a member, but eventually I worked my way up the leadership ranks until I became president. And that was my junior year, and then senior year, I kind of acted as a president's advisor. So I was really grateful for being in that organization. I met a lot of great like-minded people, and it was a great way to give back to scouting, which gave me so much. This was I believe, August before my sophomore year of college. I had been in my new major a semester. And I've kind of was getting my footing and learning the ropes to a completely new field, which I knew I wanted to pursue, but didn't have any experience in. And I had applied very hastily to a trip, an excursion run by the National Hispanic Environmental Council. And so it was a fully paid by federal grants STEM institute, if you will, in New Mexico. So I believe I probably applied 2 weeks before it started. And so I got that answer about a week later. And so I think it was a Monday. And I told my parents, hey, this Friday, I'm flying to New Mexico for this science event, this kind of science field trip. And they were kind of panicked, with who, with what, what organization is this? And, are you going to get kidnapped? And it was really last minute, but I was really grateful for it because it gave me one of kind of my starting experience in this field. And so in this, I got to get my first hands-on fieldwork experience in a beautiful location. It really helped me discover my passion for the state of New Mexico. And also, more importantly, it gave me my first experience in kind of getting to know the federal government and the different branches of conservation within that and how they work. So we got to meet with diverse role models from the U.S. Forest Service, the Environmental Protection Agency, and then also the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And so this is a really good experience for kind of getting my foot in the door and kind of really getting excited about pursuing a career in this. So these are more pictures from that event. On the left, I am using, I forget the technical term, but basically a leveler, and it helps you see the elevation difference between two different points with someone holding a measuring rod, say 50 yards away on the other end. And then on the right, that was me and waders just kind of sampling a riparian zone just within a river and kind of sampling river ecosystems. And both of these, not known to me at the time, would be major factors in my first job within the federal government. So I really, really stressed that it was a great experience for getting my foot in the door and then giving me skills that would help me get a job later down the line. During college, I kind of had some experience working in the laboratories of professors, working under them and kind of doing research. And I don't have any publications to my name, but got a lot of good experience in their labs and kind of contributing to their research. So this video here, turn your sound up if not, and I hope it plays sound. But for a full school year, I did avian husbandry of peafowl, Pavo cristatus. And so I got really used to them and they got really used to me, and it was really fun going out there and feeding them, and they're really cute and interesting, especially whenever they'd lek and their breeding season and all their plumage. So this is a really fun video where I learned to communicate with them somehow. Do it, make the noise. Yes, sir. Could y'all hear that or no? Yeah, okay. So that was just a really fun, crazy video. Yeah. I don't know how they decided to respond to me, but I heard them making that noise all the time and figured that I would try and do it. And needless to say, they liked it and they responded. Still do it, make the noise. Hold on. Still don't know what it means though, so. Shortly after that, later that year in winter, I was gratefully given the opportunity to participate in another one of those institutes from the National Hispanic Environmental Council. This one was actually in New Jersey, which is a lot different than New Mexico, let's say. And I have a chat. 1 second, sorry. Peafowl. That's a great comment. Thank you, Helen. With this institute in New Jersey, it gave me a lot more hands-on experience and seeing a lot different areas of the federal government. This one was different in the fact that I got to see EPA Superfund sites. If y'all are unfamiliar with those, basically it is severely degraded areas of contamination from like pollution, human source pollution. So if you think the one we saw, for example, it was from a leather mill, like a shoe mill back in the early 1900s. And the amount of mercury in the soil when they tested it there and running off into the local watershed was outrageous, extremely dangerous and hazardous. And so it's kind of a long-term cleanup effort for a severe, environmental spill or a degradation. And so this experience was also good, kind of got my foot in the door more and had more networking opportunities, and would lead to another experience further on as well. So as I mentioned before, those institutes really helped me get my first job within the federal government. These photos are from that job. These are in the summer of 2020. Believe it or not, with everything getting canceled because of COVID, somehow my job still went through. And so I got this job with the US Forest Service, and I went up to Montana to survey salmonid habitats. So rivers and streams coming in from the ocean up in the Pacific Northwest that trout and salmon would use to spawn and then eventually swim back to the ocean. And it was a really great experience, absolutely incredible. And I got paid to camp basically for 8 days in a row. And on those 8 days off, I decided I didn't want to pay rent for only 14 days a month. That's if I'm not traveling around Montana camping and doing different stuff on my own leisure time. And so I elected to sleep in the trunk of my car in my off days. It's a really great way to kind of see that part of the country, which frankly I had always dreamed of. So these are more pictures from that, different areas there. As you can probably imagine, on the left, dipping my full arm in that crisp, clear mountain water on a 20-degree morning. It was cold. And so we would frequently wake up with ice on our tents and just kind of braving the elements like that, and then having to get in the water all day anyways. And that photo on the right there actually was just outside of Glacier National Park in Montana. We had camped pretty much on the opposite riverbank there, and for a site that we were sampling. And so once we got off for the day from sampling the river, I just went out there and started fly fishing. So incredible experience. And the fact that I got to be in that location for work, for me, was mind-boggling. So these are more pictures from that summer. I also got to take advantage of the area I was in. And these are from backpacking Glacier National Park as well. We had backcountry passes for 3 days. So that was a really special experience that I had with friends as well. That was during my junior year, summer between my junior and senior year, and eventually I graduated from Texas A&M University with honors. That there is my dad on the right, and then mom to my left, and little brother, a lot more grown up and different from that first picture I showed on the left there. But that's my family, and I'm definitely here where I am today because of them. So very grateful. And through the connection that I made the previous year, let me see what these are. Through the connection that I made the previous year, I went back another field season to work for that same job, except because it was out of COVID times, or at least to that program out of COVID times, we got to do more intensive field sampling that you would on a normal year. So basically, instead of spending about 2 hours on a river collecting data for it, this past summer, we would spend 8 hours on a stream collecting data for it, just on one site. So it was very intensive field work. And these videos right here, I'll show you, were from a personal record of mine for training for this job. Because the sampling is so intensive, we had an 18 days straight training out in the woods, and we got no break from that, no reprieve. So I got to camp for 18 days straight, no running water, no showers. It was really crazy because we left there and, we just kind of figured, where did the month go? That was pretty much the month of May completely gone by the time we got out. So it's really weird catching up. And also no cell service for that 18 days straight. So my parents knew where I was, but they were kind of expecting an update somewhere in there, and they never got one. So, and so this video on the left was from a day in training. And we had just been sent out on the river the first time to sample, and it started snowing on us. And so my fingers, between reaching down into the water and grabbing pebbles to count pebble sizes, and then typing on that frozen iPad screen and typing in that data. It was extremely cold, pretty much the coldest I've ever been working. But as a Texan, it was really special to see that because I had never seen, or I had seen snow before, but not in a kind of a conifer forest like that. And this is another image or video when it was snowing. But this was kind of showing our base camp. There were about, I think, 60 of us out there total. We had all of our bosses, imagine Scott, for example, and Nancy out there camping for 18 days straight with a bunch of, teenagers and young people like that, and training them and just roughing the elements just as good as us. So it was really cool that our bosses were willing to kind of get down and dirty and run that field camp for almost a month. So let's see. No, there we go. And so similar to the last time in Montana, this past summer, 2021, I elected to live out of my car again. This time I had a much better setup that I was proud of. So I just wanted to show a picture of this to kind of help you get an idea. And so I would lay out my hammock, and my Yeti was essentially my fridge. So it's kind of hard keeping that stocked with ice all the time and worrying about that. But I kept my guitar in there. And so you can see the trunk of the car open. On the left side of the car, on the driver's side, in a straight line down the back, I would just have that cooler, that green trunk, and kind of all my stuff. And then on the right half of the car behind the passenger seat, that's where I would lay my sleeping mat. Just imagine a 2-inch thick camping inflatable mat, and I would just sleep in the trunk of the car every night. But as you'll see from more pictures, it was really incredible to do because I got to see so much versus, being in an apartment or anything like that. And for being up there and having that 1 week on, 1 week off work schedule, I wouldn't have it any other way. These are some photos from work from that job. I got to see gorgeous areas, and the photo on the right was especially funny because that was my first day of work at that job. And I had recalled my girlfriend working a job in Montana. And so she had texted me and said, oh, it's windy today, or it's kind of misting rain and it's windy. And so our boss told us to, come home early, stay inside, just take it easy and take a break for the day. And so that was my first day there at this job on the right. And I was getting hailed on, and it was 30 degrees, and we're playing around in cold Oregon water. So it was really funny and I guess ironic in that case. But that was a great day for sure. These are more photos from that. We would work and live out of the trucks you see on the left, just big Rams, 2500s, 3500s. So for me, it was really fun getting to drive those on, Forest Service roads and kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and a bit of light off-roading. And they were also our shelter when things got really heavy. So in that photo on the right, you can see the propane stove we had. You can see the Yeti that we shared as a field crew, and then our water jug on the left there. And I had just finished cooking dinner, and I think during that hitch, it had probably rained for 5 days straight. And so I just had enough, and I was squatting in the back of that truck eating probably a can of soup out of that pot. So just shows that it was a really funny and unique job for sure, that those are my nights on work. So also on the job, I got to really get good at snake catching, which is really fun. They weren't venomous or anything, but just little garter snakes that were kind of along the waterways. They love water and kind of those riparian zones. And so I got really good at seeing one and chasing it down really quick, and they would just slither away, and they weren't big enough to bite, or at least they never tried. So yeah, it was really fun. And just another example of a crazy situation. This on the right was the hike down to get to a river. So it's a big river valley, and down there you can see where all that lush is. That was the river down there that we were sampling. And to get in and out, we had to pretty much scramble on all fours on that scree on those rocks. And it was really hard, and it was probably 90, 95 degrees that day. But it was really fun because I got to the top of that just out of breath and exasperated. And I kind of thought to myself, I just got paid to climb that mountain, you know, to climb that hill. Like, it was so much fun, and that's what you do for free. You know, you go out and go hiking and do all this stuff. But that was on work time. I just got paid to do that. So it's fun to have those moments. And same with this job here at Neal Smith now. I get that epiphany a lot, where it's kind of just like a whoosh feeling, and it's, man, I'm getting paid to do this. You know, this is the dream. So it was, yeah, a really special experience. Later on in the summer, close to the end, I ended up getting to go to Crater Lake National Park in Oregon on the left side of the photo. And then that photo on the right was on the Washington State coast, just outside of Olympic National Park, near Forks, Washington, if any of y'all like Twilight. But unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Forks. But as you can see, it definitely fits that stereotype of misty Pacific Northwest rocky coastline with really dark sand. Actually, the sand was that dark. So it was really cool. So this would lead into me getting another last minute invite that summer. I actually got to take a break from my job out in Oregon, and I got to fly back down to New Mexico for another institute with that same organization, the National Hispanic Environmental Council, except this time the tables were turned, and I was given the opportunity to staff it and be a role model and be a mentor and educator, and kind of flip the script from where I was before. So before, I was looking up to the instructors for the course and asking them for advice, and then now it was time for me to do the same for you know, freshmen and sophomores in college after I had graduated college. And so I got to talk about my job and my journey and what I had done. And so it was a really special experience, and similar to the student organization that I was in college, I was really grateful to be given the opportunity to give back to an organization that did so much for me. Frankly, there's no better feeling. So I was really grateful for that opportunity and that break. And that leads me to now. I'm here at Neal Smith. Again, that was just a photo the other day from being out on the refuge. And just wanted to highlight again that I'm really grateful to be here and be in this place. And I've only been here a month, but it's already easy to tell, both from just looking out over the prairie and also from seeing the effort and the work that all of y'all put in, that this really is a special place worth the effort and worth the funding and all the rest. So grateful to be here, and thank you for listening.
That was just awesome, Aiden. Really well done. And just, I always say when I read all the things that you have already done early on in your career, I'm just floored about all your skills and capabilities and talents at this point. And my prediction is that Aiden's going to be the director of the Fish and Wildlife Service. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but I have a lot of faith in you, and I'm inspired by all the things that you have done already, and I know you're going to go very far. So thank you so much for sharing your adventures. That sounded like so much fun, but a lot of hard work as well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. But does anybody have any questions for Aiden about his experiences? Let me just check the chat.
Yeah.
Rachel said, very fun to hear about your experiences. Thanks for sharing. And Helen said, thank you, Aiden. Hope to meet you someday. Yes, please come out. Aiden is working a Tuesday through Saturday. So yeah, come out and see us. Yeah, and quite the journey so far. This is just at the very beginning and doing all these awesome things. But I had a question for you, Aiden. Interesting, you know, maybe just a little bit about what types of sampling you were doing. So what kind of information what data were you collecting?
Yeah, so more in depth, the program that I was working for had been going on for 20 years. So I think since 1999 or the year 2000 or something around there. And so it was originally formed out of a lawsuit with the government that environmentalists were saying that the U.S. Forest Service isn't let's say, taking care to preserve the salmon and trout habitat that is on their lands in favor of grazing cattle and more cattle allotments on forest and government land. And so the goal of the project was basically to catalog and monitor these streams, and especially in grazing zones and things like that, and see the differences that were occurring over this 20 years and then far in the future as well. So they would rotate sites every 5 years, they'd go back. So I would go to a river, you know, it was year 2020, and we had photos from the year 2015 that we had to line up and repeat exactly. So, you know, in a lawsuit or court case, or even just for public records, you can go and see a photo of that exact spot from the year, you know, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015, and 2020, to kind of see the effects that our management practices are having on the landscape. And so that was a lot of what I did in 2020, whenever it was kind of a shortened protocol. Because of COVID, we couldn't have a full crew. There were only 2 of us instead of the normal 3 to 5. And during 2021, we collected a lot more data. These included a lot of things that, at least for me, I hadn't considered that were important to fish. To me, before this job and kind of before college, for better or worse, I looked at a river and I saw fish inside. I was like, they're just dumb fish. You know, I mean, they're cool, but you know, it's just a fish. It's not that special. And, you know, it was harder for me, and I'm sure for other people too, to see into that world and kind of have that connection like you can, for example, with bison, because they, you know, they're underwater and they're hard to see, and they're not as present, I guess. And so the things we would sample for included woody debris. We would quantify all of the large wood pieces, you think fallen logs, big branches that were in the water, because salmon and trout and fish in general really like whenever there's a lot of large wood chunks in the water to hide and kind of escape predators and just have that habitat structure. Another thing we would sample is substrate, which is the makeup of the rocks and kind of the bed of the river and what minerals and materials those were. And so basically we would do that for the salmon reds or their egg nests that they lay. And so they'd swim upriver, make a red with 2 Ds, it's spelled if you want to look it up. And so basically that's their nest. Whenever you think about a bird piling sticks and stuff together, the salmon would use their tails and kind of carve out a basin in the bottom of the river and lay their eggs in that. The problem with that is that whenever the substrate and the particles in the bottom are too fine, what they can do is bury the eggs and kind of deprive them of oxygen as they're developing in the eggs. And if the pebbles and boulders are too big, then they're just not going to be able to be carved out by the salmon in the first place. So there's kind of a Goldilocks sweet spot in the middle for that. And we were trying to determine whether, those streams that we were sampling had that size substrate for that criteria. Other things we did were measure elevation change using that kind of telescope rod thing from the top to the bottom of a site sample about 200 yards. So we measure the elevation change and see if that changed at all, or if the water had carved out the basin more. And then as well as that, we would measure vegetation along the banks, just to kind of see how susceptible they were to erosion. For example, you look at the Walnut Creek that we have on the refuge, and kind of how all the grass is grazed, on the riverbanks, at least in the bison enclosure you look at, if you ever get a chance, you drive past it where you can see the river. The grass is all grazed and kind of dead, dying along the sides of that, and that's natural. But what that does is loosen up the soil, and so you can also see where the grass is really short. There's a lot of bare soil right along the stream bank, just bare brown soil, not rocks or anything, just bare dirt ready to be eroded away into the waterways. And so we were analyzing vegetation to see how susceptible the stream banks were to erosion from cattle or just from flood events, just how much bare soil was along the waterway that could flow down and get eroded. And there was more, but I feel like I've probably talked about this for 5 minutes. Again, one site would take us about 8 to 10 hours. So we would be out there for a long time just collecting data on one site. And I was with a team of 3 to 5 people. So yeah.
It sounds fantastic. Thanks for the great overview. And Kyle put in the chat, he said, what was your favorite place that you visited during your journey?
Okay, I'd probably say it was the Steens Mountain Wilderness. That's Steens, Steens Mountain Wilderness in southeastern Oregon. And I think it had more of a sentimental value for me. If you look up pictures, it's just kind of a sagebrush steppe, you know, kind of deserty high mountain range. So like juniper trees and small shrubby kind of stuff like that. But the drive in there was 30 miles. Well, first down a highway, it was about 50 miles away from the closest town in gas. And then after that 50 miles down a paved highway, I went about 30 miles in down a dirt road. And so that was by far the farthest away I've been from any civilization. And it was Bureau of Land Management land. And I saw they had lots of wild horses roaming around. And so they'd be on the roads and running in front, like in packs. And so I got to see wild horses kind of running around and roaming. And that's kind of when living out of my car and the benefits that it provided clicked for me, if that makes sense. Because, you know, it can be bad too, because I didn't have a kitchen or a toilet or a shower or anything like that. But whenever you kind of have those experiences where everything makes sense, it makes it all worth it. And the Steens was perhaps that biggest experience for me. So
thanks for sharing that. Does anybody else have any questions? And it can relate to the refuge, not always necessary. It doesn't have to necessarily be about Aiden's presentation, even though I'm sure there's lots of things you got us thinking about Aiden. But one thing I wanted to mention, you know, it's a big turn for Aiden to actually now going from being out in the field to be stationary in one spot for a year and then doing visitor services. So you're taking somebody that's so passionate about being outdoors and moving around, and now he's stationary and stuck in one spot and doing a totally different job of communicating with visitors and volunteers. And actually, Aiden, that was one of the things that he wants to do. He wants to see the other side. So he recognizes the importance of communicating about the natural resources. I don't want to put words in your and speak for you, but do you mind summarizing that, Aiden? You know, what your goal is with the visitor services program?
Oh yeah, yes, ma'am. So I, again, these jobs were pretty much the most, you know, barring doing anything up in Alaska or barring traveling to Africa or down to South America to work in the Amazon. To me, they were just about the most rugged field work experiences that you could have, just, you know, camping and not showering for 8 days and driving around in different places. And so I kind of realized that I had gotten that, you know, the hardest field work experience, and I would feel confident and qualified for anything in that aspect that would be thrown my way with a job. But I wanted to further hone my skills in an office setting because I'd never witnessed that, and also with facing the public. And my eventual goal is to be a biologist similar to Karen for whether it's the Fish and Wildlife Service or Forest Service or any kind of federal agency. And so I figured I had the science experience and that background, and the visitor services position was really enticing because I get to hone the other side of the coin, interacting with stakeholders and the public and volunteers and all of those different things. Because I like to think that that's what makes a well-rounded employee, being able to kind of do both of those at the same time. So.
And yes, you get some other input from in the chat about visiting with you. And so, yeah, excellent. So once again, we're thrilled to have Aiden. Thank you for doing an outstanding presentation. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Anything you'd like to share? Any interesting things you've been doing? Well, we hope to see you at the refuge. It's 7:30. And what a nice group to have tonight. And I really appreciate once again, Aiden, doing the presentation. You did a wonderful job, and appreciate the friends hosting this. It's their Zoom account. And I truly am thankful for all the volunteers. You just do an awesome job, keep us going. And I just really, really just like working with all of you. You're just really great to work with and a lot of fun. So thanks so much for supporting us. We will be starting to open up more programming, hopefully as COVID, as I mentioned, so more opportunities. Hopefully the visitor center will open more, and let us know if you need anything or if you have any questions about volunteer opportunities. Just email me, give me a call, and we'll get you connected. So hope to see you at the refuge. And the next meeting is going to be on, we host these the second Thursday of the month at 6:30. I wrote it down, now I lost it. The next one is going to be on April 14th at 6:30. And I believe the topic is going to be on working dogs for conservation. And that's the organization that we hire through the Friends, and they bring out actually trained dogs to sniff out invasive species on the refuge, and which is just amazing. And then a GPS is used to mark the location, and then that plant, the invasive plant, is then sprayed with spot sprayed with herbicide. They also use the dogs to find rare plants on the refuge as well. So I believe Karen's going to give us a presentation on that. So that should be a lot of fun. I was amazed. I had no idea dogs were used for that. So interesting work. And so hopefully you can join us on April 14th. So thank you again for everybody. Thank you, Joan, for hosting the program tonight. And we hope to see you at the refuge. Stay well and stay happy, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Aiden.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody. Thanks again.